10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh, and I'm glad to be here with you this morning. Glad that you're here with us as well on this Wednesday, April the 30th, 2025. Yes, April's almost done with. We're almost into May. Doesn't really seem like that right now. The weather that we'll have coming up for you, the weather forecast, seems a little chilly for me for this time of year. And yeah, it's like minus 11 right now out there at the wind chill. It's really cold. And yeah, chance of flurries this morning and overnight last night. So it doesn't really feel like it's going into May, but welcome to Northern Ontario. And this is Sudbury's source for chance to have a conversation on your station, CKLU 96.7 FM, right here in Greater Sudbury on terrestrial radio. We're also streaming live on cklu.ca. Just make sure to click the Radio Player Canada app, and you can stream us. If you download the same Radio Player Canada app, you can take us with you, listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. Also, live streaming at Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the page. Mainly comment. We'll do our best to get your comments up on the screen for those watching, read for those listening, as much as we possibly can. And then we kind of have to move on with the stories of the day, whatever we're deep diving on today. And then we'll just put your comments up on the screen after that. We are then on demand on those two platforms, as well as x.com/Sudbury News. Conversation continues on Facebook, however, and we will dive right in with a little bit of weather. But before that, just to let you know, there's just going to cover some news headlines, some local news headlines. The Sudbury Five, they won the championship last night, so congratulations to the Sudbury Five of the Super Basketball League. First ever championship, and Sudbury definitely needs that. Needs something to root for, something, that's positive like that, and a championship is perfect for to rally around and get Sudburyans excited. Sports is like that, and that's sports is not only competitive for those playing, but for those watching. It's exciting, and you go for your team, and every once in a while your team can win. We're not used to that too much in Sudbury, but every once in a while we'll take it, and we're going to take this championship. And congratulations to the players, the coaches, the staff, all of those, the owners, everyone who makes the Sudbury Five the Sudbury Five. Congratulations to you guys. We'll have more on how they did it and all that right after the weather, but that and deep dive, obviously, we're going to be still kind of dissecting the election and, what we can expect moving forward here in Canada. It was a close one. The Liberals almost got a majority government. However, the other parties, other than Conservatives and Liberals, really lost out. And the NDP lost their party status even. Their leader stepped down. Conservative leader didn't even win his own riding, and there's some speculation as to why that took place. And there's just politics that happened, and people play politics differently, and that's what makes politics politics. The gloves are off. to use a hockey analogy like the Liberals use with elbows up. The gloves are off when it comes to campaigns and whatever. And there's winners, there's losers. And yeah, it can be messy, and lots of tactics are used in elections. Some maybe more ethical than others, but nonetheless, if a party's willing to do something to win, they're going to do it. And I guess you have to admire it to a certain degree, even if it's not the most ethical. But however, we will talk a little bit more about that after news headlines, your comments coming right up, right after the weather. We'll be back right after this. Weather brought to you by Voyager Tire. Visit them at the intersection of Falconbridge, Kingsway, and 2nd Avenue. Let them know we sent you. You'll get a 10% discount. Also, it's minus 5 degrees, but it feels like minus 11 with the wind chill. Cloudy today with a 30% chance of flurries early this morning, clearing near noon. And the high will be plus 8. But the wind chill this morning, possibly up to minus 13 tonight. A few clouds, increasing cloudiness after midnight. The low of 0 Thursday, cloudy, showers beginning in the afternoon. And the high will be 9. So we get showers again tomorrow with a high of 9. And then chance of showers, a 60% chance of showers on Friday, high of 6. Mix of sun and cloud for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 10 degrees, 14 degrees, 18 degrees. And then on Tuesday, 19 degrees with a 40% chance of showers. Look at your satellite. A lot of gray over most of the populated areas of Ontario, and then most of Quebec. A little bit of clearing coming from the east, but I'm not sure if we'll see much of that. We'll just have to see how it goes today and see if the forecast is right or not. And we will be back with your news headlines, comments, and more right after this. All right, everyone. Thanks for sticking around with us. It's going to be a great show today, I promise. And good morning, Northern Hillbilly. Thanks for being on. You say, look at Europe. There is a blackout now. Would you want to stock up on food and water at the point or be prepared? The elites are always testing the masses. Not sure what that acronym means, but basically you're saying there's a blackout in Europe. Make sure you got your food and water. Be prepared because that could happen here as well. Judy, good morning to you. And David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. Same to you, David. And blessings to you as well, Denise. Blessings to everyone. Good morning. Hazel, good morning. Prayer emoji for Canada. For sure. I'm with you on that one. And good morning, Andrew. Thanks for being on. Larry as well. Good morning, my fellow Canadians. And Nana here. Good morning. Blessings to all. Heart emoji, exclamation point. Good morning, Nana. David says, good morning. Thank you. And thank you for providing me with the information and allowing me to come up with my own opinions. Thank you very much, David. That's exactly what we want to be able to do on the show. And it's not as much to give information to make you believe something. It's mostly to, just question and say, is that really the way that it is? It is also to give the alternate point of view as well. So many people, like we had yesterday, an individual on the show, accusing us of being of being biased to one side. And it is the truth, because we live in a society where media is biased. So our mainstream media is biased. So if I come out and be unbiased, sure, it's going to be wonderful. It should be the way that it is. All media should be unbiased. But in Canada, we pretty much see one side. The media is biased. It leans very much to the left. It just does. And people on the left, they don't see that because it's their news, right? It speaks to them. It's exactly what they believe. It's an echo chamber. So in order to say that to somebody who leans left politically or whatever, ideologically, they don't really notice it because it speaks exactly their language. But as soon as you start hearing something else, it's like, wait a minute, that sounds foreign to me. And wait a minute, it's the other point of view that the media should be giving in the first place, should be giving you the 2 point of views, but it doesn't. So this show acts as that. So it's heavily leaning more to a right of center point of view to give people, at least if you can listen to our show and then you listen to mainstream media, you might have a good chance to at least make a more informed decision. And I listen to left media probably more than people who are politically in the left or ideologically in the left listen to mainstream media. So believe me, I do. It's not like I'm in an echo chamber and that's all I do is listen to one side, which many people might think would be the case if they listen to the show regularly or whatever. But no, if you listen to the show regularly, you know I reference the CBC, CTV, mainstream media all the time as well. So when I was listening to CBC yesterday, when I was watching CTV, it's not, I don't, disregard the mainstream media. I watch it, but you also need the other side. So thank you very much for that, David. Good morning, Sudbury, smiley emoji. And that's Monique. Good morning, Monique. And Larry says all Canadians that voted Conservatives and think that our elections were rigged, again, need to get on board with the referendum. We need 162,000 signatures to get a referendum so we can have another election. Okay, interesting. I don't know if Canadians would stomach that one at the moment, but yeah, that'd be hard to get another election at this point. Probably many Conservatives included. The thing is, with the way the government is set up with a minority liberal government, then we could have an election, 6 months to a year from now. A chance for people to see how this administration will run things and if they will run it the way that they hope, or is it going to be more of the same? So their policies are the same. Nothing's really changed. So it's more than likely going to be status quo. If anything, things are going to get worse. And so then it's probably going to be the right time and for people to realize who the leader of the country actually is. We didn't have enough time to do that, and the conflicts of interests and who this person's loyalties lie with, their background, everything, the lies they might have said, the skeletons they have, to become more out in the open where people weren't willing to do that. They were just so excited there was a new leader for their party. They overlooked all of those things, right? And so this gives a chance for people to actually see who's in the driver's seat right now. And yeah, and if it's benefiting them like they would hope. So Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie, liked and shared as usual. Thank you very much, Marianne. Northern Hillbilly says bread and circus. Yes. And Disabled Kane, good morning to you. Haven't seen you on the show for a bit. Good old global warming, LOL. Polar ice caps are melting quick. Buy up oceanfront property like all the rich climate agenda pushers. Yeah, you're referring to the temperature right now, which is with the wind chill up to minus 13 degrees on April 30th for sure. Liette, good morning. Hand clap emoji from Collingwood. Good morning, Liette and Hazel. The Liberal voters just stabbed Canada in the heart. So that's what I was talking about, right? So we'll see how things go. Like, let's say things turn around and the economy gets better and inflation goes down and prices at the grocery store are more affordable and there's, gas, doesn't go up as high as was forecast previously and things go good. Who knows, right? I have my own opinion, But let's see what happens, right? The Green Party lost status also, LOL. May is going in as an independent, which is, the right thing to do. Now, we do know that the Greens and the NDP work together to help out the Liberals because many of the Greens didn't even run in a lot of the areas, and that allowed one less candidate on the ballot in a lot of areas to then push towards the Liberal Party. NDP, same thing. Jagmeet Singh wasn't really running a campaign to win. He tanked his own party, and it all benefited the Liberals because they're all left-wing parties, right? So if you don't have your particular left-wing party you normally vote for on the ballot, or that they're not really coming after your vote or saying things that resonate with you, you're obviously going to go to the next best left choice on the left, and that's Liberal. So that's what you saw. You saw all the other parties assisting, the ones on the left assisting the Liberals, and that attributed to more of the Liberal votes. So it was it on purpose? Did they meet in a back room and discuss this strategy before? I don't know. Well, it just happened the way that it did, and it just played into their hands, and all these parties are decimated now. So why would these leaders allow that to happen to their parties, right? So Larry says, to all the Liberal voters, you have broken Canada and are going to complain and cry in the near future because you are all blind, foolish people. So, and that's the thing, right? You heard the people say on the left, we just can't have Pierre Poilievre in. So in their heart of hearts, they stopped. It wasn't even endorsing the Liberals per se. It was stopping the Conservatives from getting in. So anyone on the left would just think they've done the most noble, valiant thing and die on their sword to stop a Conservative government from getting in is what they did. And okay, Carney, sure, he's in a different party, but he's not Pierre Poilievre. So let's get behind that because the policies are more in line with theirs anyways. And I would make the argument that the Liberals actually were more NDP than the NDP. If you look at traditional policies and the way that they govern and, their platforms, basically the Liberals leapfrogged the NDP with their ideologies. So really there was no need for an NDP. And if you're an NDPer, you're very happy with the policies that come out of the Liberal camp because they're basically the NDP on steroids. Now, they've gone so far left that, it is what it is. It's just politics. I wish I didn't have to think about it as much as I do in order to talk about it on the show, but it is what it is. So Marianne, absolutely 100%. We have no right to complain to what's coming because that's what we voted for. You got it. Pat, good morning to y'all. Peace sign, smiley emoji. Miles, good morning to you. Hey, Liberal election reform was part of Pierre Poilievre's riding. Boundaries were pushed into the suburbs where older retired people lived, and the Liberal candidate started the rally campaign 18 months ago. Also, there were 91 candidates on the ballot, and that didn't help. So again, politics, right? The gloves were off. It's messy, and it is what it is. So some people are willing to do, the ones that are willing to do anything to win usually win, and that's what we don't really realize in the world. The people with huge positions of power, they got there because they were willing to do anything to win. Not everyone is in that boat. We're not willing to do anything to win because some of us stop at things like ruining someone's life or killing someone. Maybe I shouldn't say that on YouTube. The word now is in an algorithm, but we cover the news. So there's lots of that going on in news. But you know what I mean? Like if someone's not going to stop at anything to win, how do you win against someone like that? Really, honestly, like if you aren't willing to go out there and do the most vilest of things, then you're not going to win in this world and get those positions of power. It's unfortunate. It's sad, but it is true. And no matter how you PR it all up and put lipstick on the pig, so to speak, it is true. The people that are in absolute power positions in this world were willing and are willing and will be willing to do anything, sacrifice anything at all costs to win. And then you just have to say, okay, what are you doing this for? Like, why are you willing to sacrifice and do anything there is to win and get in these positions of power? Then what are you doing with that power? Like, what's your motive? What's your end game? Like, what are your values? Like, what do you stand for? Like, what do you want to do with that power? And it's pretty dark at the end of the day. It's pretty dark. It doesn't include, making the world a better place for all people and treating your fellow man like you want to be treated, and raising people up to a higher level so they can, thrive and live, fulfilling, meaningful lives. That's not one of the things that they have at the heart of their purpose of doing what they do. So when they get to these positions of power, they do things that make people scratch their head and go, why are there so many starving people in the world? Why are there so many wars? Why do we have an opioid crisis? Why can't people just buy a home? Why are people standing in lines at food banks? Why does the government encourage people to take medical assistance in dying as an option to their suffering? Why? Well, when you boil it down to what I just kind of laid out there, that explains it, right? It doesn't explain. So it explains what they're not there to do. But what they're there to do is the opposite of what I explained. And they're in the elite circles, there's at the heart of what they stand for is that the elites are a separate group of people. They want to keep themselves alive. They want to make sure that they're strong, healthy, and everything, because they're a different species than you and I. And somehow a lot of money makes that. I don't know how that works, but if you have a lot of money, you're somehow not a human being anymore. You're higher than that, and all the other people are lower than you. And you start believing in things like eugenics, which is alive and well. And if you don't believe that, just the idea that the world's overpopulated is part of the eugenics ideology. And a lot of people are told that with the climate agenda and things, the world's overpopulated. There's not going to be enough food to feed everybody. And we need to get rid of many of the population and stop a lot of the people being born, things like that. Whatever we can do to decrease the world population is somehow benevolent for the planet and is going to help mankind somehow. You've heard it. That's woven in a lot of things that you've heard over the past little while. Well, that's what they think. So now when you look at the world and you go, hunger, that gets rid of a lot of people. Wars? Wow, that'll do a real doozy to get rid of a lot of disease. Yeah. Disease can get rid of a lot of people. So whatever you know that can get rid of a lot of people is being done, and it's being rolled out by people in high positions that will stop at nothing and do anything to get these positions of power and believe that. And it's like king of the hill. And if they can eliminate all of the potential threats to their power, that's what they do as well. Because if they encourage and uplift and give you the tools to be powerful too, then you become competition to their power. And that's definitely not what they want. Okay, that's my rant for the day. I'm done. And Lorraine, good morning. And politics are a dirty game. And they really brought out the dirty tactics on this one. Yep, it's a dirty game. And it is what it is. It's politics. Like it, love it, loathe it, leave it. Northern Hillbilly, they took Pierre out like a Mad Max in his own riding. And like always, it's a conspiracy. Yeah, a lot of people. Again, it's not conspiratorial to ask questions and just get to the bottom of something. It's just called good reporting, actually. And Larry, I'm glad you're on Colin. We have Big Bear watching our Ontario news channel. Thanks for watching, my brother. Okay, cool. Thank you, Larry. And Marianne, they also found ballots in the garbage next day, apparently. Nothing to see, right? Interesting. What do you do with ballots after an election? Do you throw them in the garbage? So that's what I would ask right there, right? Instead of getting all whatever, I'd say, okay, is that part of the policies that you take the paper ballots once they're counted, and do you discard them in the garbage, or do you have to keep them? So that's what I would just ask that question. And if the answer is no, you have to hold them for record keeping or whatever, just in case there's a recount. Well, then that should be investigated. Denise, that's part of the agenda. The power goes out for a couple days, but a couple years, that's civil war, and that's what we're going to have to go through. Okay. Liette says elections have consequences. Liberal voters voted hate and not policies. They might want to read the Liberal mandate that they have supported. Soon will be implemented. I anticipate voters' remorse in the near future when they realize that they actually voted for their emotional decision comes and bites them in the you-know-what. So, yeah. So that is a possibility that people want. And that's, I think, the reason why Carney got so many votes, too, is because people didn't want to have voters' remorse from their first person they elected who, in shame stepped down from their position because they lost everybody's confidence and rightfully so had to step down in order for their party to continue, in order for, Pierre Poilievre not to get in kind of thing. If that's what everyone rallies around, he's so bad, but yet they can't come up with a single reason why. And I do say that to all my liberal friends, tell me the reason why. I read all your Facebook posts. I see you on the show when you're trolling and the things you say, but you can't say a single policy that he's doing that's so dangerous. I don't understand that. It's just emotions. But yeah, the conversation needs to happen. If there's somebody who's so dangerous, just say why. Oh, because he's like Trump. Oh, okay. So tell me how. Well, and then they get mad. As soon as you do, I think that's where the anger starts. As soon as you say, okay, well, how is he like Trump? Exactly. I have the person who was on the show actually yesterday on his Facebook, and you can go check it out. He says that Trump wants Poilievre to win. That should tell you about Poilievre. He has that right on his Facebook, even though it's so known by everyone that he said he'd prefer a liberal leader, and he actually put down Poilievre as weak or dumb or something like that. But he has on his Facebook post that Trump wants Poilievre to win. That's why we need to vote for Carney or something like that. You can go check it out, like I said. That's what I mean. So it's like, where does this stuff come from? It's just like, let's just get our facts straight and just have a conversation about reality. And it's hard, though, because the media and the people themselves who are in power who say questionable things and do questionable things, and it's a mess. But sorting through it doesn't take much if you just have a sound mind and, you have a little bit of patience and you have some respect. You can actually sort through this information if you come to the table with the right intentions. Larry says this is pretty much the only platform we have, freedom of speech, and Yeah, so this is the only platform we have for sure to be able to speak our thoughts. Okay, so Miles says blackouts in Europe happening because of their carbon net zero programs has a lot of pressure on their power grids. For sure, that's coming to Canada if we don't vote out this administration sooner than later. That's coming to Canada very shortly. Blackouts all the time, but it's for a good cause, right? Okay, so Pat, a lot of sad people yesterday, for sure. Marianne says, I hope they are up for, since they voted with feelings instead of critical thinking. Yeah, feelings for sure. And morning, Marvin. Thanks for being on all the way from Alberta. Larry says, the only way we'll get our Canada back is taking it by force. These people protest or nice, and we spoke our truth, and now we need to do what we have to do to take our country back. Now, this is the thing. Violence begets violence, and it's unfortunate that, if you take the Gandhi approach, which I think is the only way really to go, live by the sword, die by the sword type of thing, I would call everyone to just be as respectful and just kill them with kindness. Just be the best, rise even further high. Use this as an opportunity to be your best self, get more articulate with facts, be able to speak more eloquently and speak the truth to power, without, with confidence, with assuredness that you know that you're speaking the truth, and without any kind of, but respectfully, but without apology kind of thing, just to be able to be confident, say what you need to say. And again, without being condescending, without giving in to some of the lower human impulses, kind of thing. And as we do that, as we continue to do that, I think that's going to be the right thing to do. And I think people are going to see for themselves what's going to happen in our government, right? Yes, me too, Hazel, for sure. Good morning, early bird gets the worm, Marianne. Good morning. And Liette says, I do not accept the results of these elections. I've seen enough valid evidence and proof that these elections have been tampered with, and there is election interference, and investigation is required. I would think that all Canadians would not accept election cheating of either candidate, for sure. Yeah. I'm all for questioning things like this being said that we found votes in the garbage. Like, that needs to be investigated. We know mainstream media is not going to do that. Unless the Conservatives had a landslide win, then they would go out and find all of the election interference and things like that for sure, because then they become real journalists when their party's not in power. We've seen that time and time again, which they need to be all the time, which I don't mind them doing it whenever they're going after Conservatives, because they're actually doing their job, but then they don't do it on the other side as well, like they need to be. But yeah, they're not going to go out and try and find anomalies at all. They're just going to call people conspiracy theorists and just not question something, even though it's in their face that it's there. Referendums are true democracy. That's Marianne. Marvin says, yes, finally got here like robins singing in the morning. Yeah, robins are singing. They're out. Spring is springing, hopefully, soon. Lorraine says, no Canadians need to feel a ton more pain before we will get another election anytime soon. Yeah. I know, it's crazy. Anyways, let's move on with the headlines of the day. The Sudbury 5 won the championship, the Super Basketball League championship. That's some exciting news. I know we want to have more exciting news than the Sudbury 5 alone winning the championship, but we'll take what we can get at this time. This coming from the Sudbury Star. Sudbury 5 make history, win Basketball Super League championship when the Sudbury 5 won their home game in the fall of 2018, and cheers rained down. This is from the Sudbury Star, from the arena stands. It was easy to dream about just how loud the building might get if the team ever brought home a championship. That dream became a reality on Tuesday night as J.D. Miller and Dwayne Notice, two of the longest-serving, hardest-working players on the five roster, raised the Super Lily title trophy to a thunderous ovation from sellout crowd at the Sudbury Community Arena. It's unbelievable, man. Just unbelievable feeling, said Miller. We won it. And so that is they won 103 to 93. That's a pretty big win in terms of basketball scores. A very big win. Couple of headlines from Sudbury Star here. Sudbury man admits, I will drink. When I drink, my anger is uncontrollable. So the Sudbury Star, they have a reporter who's pretty much at the courthouse all the time. So they get all of the stories from the courthouse, you know, so you see stories like that, and stories like a man caught masturbating on bus bound for Sudbury. He also exposed himself to a store employee in Espanola. So you can read more about that. Cambrian students win contest for autonomous model car. During the competition, students programmed robotic cars to navigate a designated truck autonomously. So congratulations to the Cambrian students who did that. So there was a Sudbury man grabbed a computer from a store, threatened them with a knife, took off. Store staff called the police. Police got him, got the computer back, and basically, he was only 18 years old, and now he's in custody without incident. And when we were in Timmins this weekend, we were out for supper with a couple, and they told us that in Timmins, crime is getting so bad, and we noticed security at all the stores, including the hotel we stayed at. There was massive security. And I asked the security guard, I said, what's going on? Anyways, the reason why they were there was because of the flooding in Saskatchewan, and they had an evacuation, and they had many, many people from the town staying in that hotel, and they were just there to kind of keep the peace or whatever. However, security in all the stores we were in, including grocery stores, department stores, and they said that people in Timmins, as of late, have just go in, they just fill their bags up with groceries or whatever items, and they just walk out. And security doesn't even do anything about it. Their security's there to make sure that the people that are in there stealing don't harm the customers. However, no sooner than we were done our dinner with this couple, we went to the grocery store. My wife's like, I got to get some groceries before going back to the hotel. And as we're pulling into the grocery store parking lot, we see a man running out of the grocery store with a duffel bag, 5 people chasing him, 2 women, 3 older gentlemen. They tackle him to the ground in the grocery store parking lot and proceed to rip his duffel bag out of his hands. And I think they called the police or whatever, but the guy was just still there. He just kind of walked off, And there was a bystander watching this, and I kind of just walking by, and I said to him, wow, it's pretty sad. He goes, sad? The guy needs to go to jail. I was like, wow, he doesn't have any compassion for the person or the situation whatsoever. So he's very, very, staunch that, this is his community, and this should not be happening in his community, right? This type of crime. And it's happening in our community as well, just by the story from the Sudbury Star alone, showing how crime, people just walk into these stores, they go in as in gangs and just smash the glass of the displays and just take whatever is in it and then leave, and nothing comes of it. That's the kind of country we're living in. Our Toronto police are telling people to put the key fobs in the mailboxes, so that way when the robbers come to take their cars, they don't have to come into their houses and no one's going to get harmed. So the police are acting like the security guards in these department stores, just not doing anything to prevent crimes from happening. They're just there to kind of facilitate the process, if you will. I have no idea. But I told this to a lady who's visiting from Texas, some of our friends, and we were talking on Sunday, and I said, "Yeah, that's what it's coming to in Canada." She goes, "That would never happen in Texas." Said because they know most people are law-abiding gun owners, and if they're going to enter a home in Texas, you're entering at your own risk. So they wouldn't have that problem in Texas, right? This lawlessness that we're experiencing in Canada and locally and throughout Northern Ontario, but also throughout the country, right? So it's very interesting. We're going to have more of this. We're going to have more of this as time goes on with this particular administration that we have, right? So again, it's a bit of a breakdown of what's going on in the country. Just trying to see what particular video I can have that goes into what's happening. So Blender, talking about Canada and being a real democracy, Blender News, right? I always like their rants, so to speak. They cover a lot of stuff in a short period of time, and you got to kind of really pay attention to what they're saying because they speak really fast. So if you have to go back and watch the show again or go watch Blender's Facebook page just to get, the commentary again, I encourage anyone to do that because they are pretty spot on their analysis of what's going on. And so they were talking about true democracy and do we have true democracy in Canada, right? We start questioning these things. We'll be back right after this.
Democracy in Canada has become nothing but a carefully crafted illusion. We are taught that voting equals freedom, that governments are accountable to the people, but in reality, we live under a system where the truth is hidden, elections are stage managed, and the average citizen has no idea what they are really voting for. Real democracy demands transparency and consequences. What we have is government-funded media that buries scandal under sanitized commentary, a political class that faces no real accountability, and a public too ignorant of the stakes. The 2021 and 2025 elections were not exercises in democratic renewal, they were tactical operations designed to shield a criminal and authoritarian regime from collapse. And what follows is not opinion, but a factual recounting of events. In 2019, 2 scientists working at Canada's top security biolab were escorted out by the RCMP. They were later found to have collaborated extensively with China's Wuhan Institute of Virology, including secretly shipping bioterrorism-grade viruses to the Chinese Communist Party's military. This connection, during the very period COVID-19 would emerge, posed explosive questions about Canada's role in a global pandemic. When Parliament demanded unredacted documents explaining the breach, the Liberal government defied 4 separate orders to produce them. Rather than comply, they launched an unprecedented lawsuit against the Speaker of the House to keep the documents secret. Facing imminent contempt proceedings, the Liberals called a snap election in August 2021, dissolving Parliament and burying the scandal before voters could fully understand that Canada was collaborating with the Chinese Communist Party on research that ultimately caused a global pandemic. 4 years later, history repeated itself. By late 2024, Trudeau's administration was engulfed in the Green Slush Fund scandal, where hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars meant for climate initiatives were funneled into Liberal-linked firms and insiders. When questions mounted, the Liberals simply froze Parliament in October, dodging hearings and stonewalling investigations. After an extended Christmas break, Parliament reconvened, only for Trudeau, seeing his government's collapse looming, to prorogue it entirely. Rather than risk a no-confidence vote, the Liberals orchestrated a sham leadership race, barring any non-loyalists from running, and installed Mark Carney, a former banker with deep ties to China and the World Economic Forum, as Prime Minister. His coronation was decided by just 150,000 Liberal Party members, representing a mere 0.4% of the population. Yet somehow, Canadians handed this party a 4th consecutive term, largely because government-funded media ensured voters were never given a fair chance to make an informed decision. I'm not making a claim that there was vote tampering. The corruption was far more sophisticated. For 4 years, the Liberals evaded every mechanism of democratic accountability, suffocating investigations, silencing Parliament, and laundering their scandals through a compliant media class. At this point, it's hard to even summon outrage. One must almost admire the sheer audacity, the strategic brilliance of a regime that understands one brutal truth. Election outcomes are not determined by democratic ideals or competence. They are determined by the ruthless ability to manipulate the masses while seizing and wielding power. This is not democracy, it's real-life House of Cards, and Canadians are living under it, waiting for it all to fall.
Piano while we're just waiting for this. So again, this is just factual, right? And a lot of people can't handle just the little summary. That was only 2 things that happened when they shut down Parliament twice in the last, few years. And those were the reasons why they shut down Parliament. And if we really had a vibrant media, the media would have looked into those things. Those aren't small things that he just talked about. That's huge. And I'm hoping that YouTube doesn't take exception to the content of what he was talking about there, because they're constantly on me about certain subjects, and that was one of them. So I just hope that's going to be fine. They're just sharing facts. It wasn't anything that's not factual. So, and another thing that I don't think we really understand in Canada, we just should be upset in general about our situation in general. And good morning, Shirley, and a few other people joined us. So good morning to you guys. As my computer crashed, I'm going to be getting it back up. Also, the other guy from Blender talking about taxes, and just our tax situation in Canada is just enormous. It just doesn't make any sense, and people should be outraged with it. And I'm surprised that wasn't even talked about that much in the campaign, this election campaign. It was all Donald Trump bad tariffs. But what about all the other stuff, including this?
Canadians now pay more in taxes than they spend on housing, clothing, and food combined. From 1961 to 2023, the total tax bill for the average family skyrocketed by 2,705%. To put that into perspective, housing costs, which have made Canada infamously unaffordable, only increased by 2,006%. Food prices surged by 901%, and clothing costs rose by 478%. Even the Consumer Price Index, which tracks inflation, has been outpaced threefold by our taxes. As of 2023, the average Canadian family forks over $46,988, or 43% of their income, on taxes, surpassing what they spend on food, shelter, and clothing, which amounts to $38,930. Now, we hear stats every day, but this one really highlights how bad things have become in Canada. We're taxed on the money we earn, the money we spend, the money we save, the money we invest, and even the money we inherit. The absurdity continues when you consider the costs just to get to work. You're taxed to register your car, taxed to drive on roads your taxes already paid to build, and taxed even further to put gas in your car. And for some, we can add tolls on bridges, highways, and tunnels, already built with billions of taxpayer dollars, yet still falling apart. When you finally get to work, your office is taxed, your company is taxed, and you're taxed again through payroll taxes, which your employer must also match. These include employment insurance, which 90% of us will never need, and the Canada Pension Plan, which is best described as a multi-generational Ponzi scheme. In fact, I find the CPP to be particularly frustrating, and here's why. The Fraser Institute found that the average Canadian will shell out $150,178 into the CPP over their lifetime, which you only get back in full if you live to be 82 years old. Now, if these contributions were invested wisely, say into an index fund with an average annual return of 8%, that same investment would grow to $1 million by the time you're retired. In other words, we could all retire with a 7-figure bank account. Instead, the government is stealing the lion's share of your retirement savings and calling it a pension plan. Anyhow, after your day of work is done and you finally get home, you're taxed again every year just for the privilege of owning your own home. This home, mind you, was bought with money that was already taxed. And if you're ambitious enough to build your own home, roughly 30% of the budget goes to soft costs, a euphemism for more government taxes. To add insult to injury, Trudeau is now considering a tax on the capital gains from the sale of your primary residence, meaning you would be taxed when you buy, build, and sell your home. Now, if you buy nice things, you pay a luxury tax. If you like to have fun, you pay a sin tax. And because our government ran out of ideas, you now also pay a carbon tax so that our government can squander more of your hard-earned money while doing absolutely nothing to improve the climate. When all is said and done, the average Canadian works approximately half the year to reach their tax freedom day. This is when you've earned enough money to pay the government so you can start earning for yourself. It's as if Trudeau and his gang are always one tax away from solving all of our problems. Now, I'm not sure how you might qualify this, but to me, it feels an awful lot like a modern version of indentured servitude. So why does the government need all this money? Well, this crushing tax burden isn't the result of bad luck. It's the result of utterly incompetent leadership and reckless government spending. Since Trudeau took office, federal spending has nearly doubled to over $500 billion a year. And when the government overspends, they have three options: raise your taxes, borrow more money, which means higher taxes later, or print money. Printing money increases the supply of capital in the market without increasing production, leading to inflation. And what's inflation? It's a hidden tax on the average Canadian because your paycheck now has less purchasing power. Meanwhile, the rich get richer because their assets, the ones we're buying, are now worth more. To put this into perspective, our government has created roughly $700 billion in cash over the last 3 years. We used to have $1.8 trillion in circulation. Now it's up to about $2.5 trillion. This is a cash increase of nearly 40%, while our economy only grew by 4%. So the money supply is growing 10 times faster than the stuff money buys. Now, one would think that all this money would at least improve our quality of life, right? Unfortunately, many of us know that's not the case. Despite combined government spending of over $350 billion a year on healthcare, Canada is at the back of the bus, finishing 10th out of 10 wealthy nations in primary care. Our education system is poisoning the minds of our children while we spend billions of dollars on foreign aid. Our old age benefits and CPP payments are barely enough to keep retirees above the poverty line, although that beats being a veteran in Canada, many of whom are left homeless or just casually offered medically assisted death rather than proper treatment. Despite tens of billions going to Indigenous communities every year, many still don't have clean drinking water. And as of the most recent data, the Canadian government collectively spends $150 billion a year on public service salaries, benefits, and pensions, a number that has grown by $40 billion under Justin Trudeau. All these new public service workers, all this new spending, yet things are still getting worse. Crime is up, poverty is up, bankruptcies are up, and the cost of living for a family of four outpaces their average take-home income if you include managing debt.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound too good, right? So people, this is what the election should have been about, but it wasn't. It was about Donald Trump. So what the heck? So it's about the tariffs and what's going to come in the future, but what the heck just happened to us? What's happening? No accountability, basically, right? So we got to start looking at things that are going on and start looking at the facts of the people that are governing this country, holding them to account, and mainstream media is not doing it. They're going to do their best. The government is, that is, to shut voices down that aren't mainstream media. We've already seen that in bills, but we're just going to keep doing it until we can't do it anymore. Thanks everyone for listening today. We're already over time. Really appreciate you being on. Remember to stay aware, like, share, take care. We'll be back same time, same place on the same platforms tomorrow, God willing. We're going to have some special guests on, so it's going to be a great show tomorrow. And stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.